Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at the Seer boss in Tower of Arrogance on hard mode. Here she is. She has an ensemble of friends, but we're not going to worry too much about them because we're going to try and nuke them down as quickly as we can. The main issue with this boss is that her passive refills her action gauge when she does a crit. So if your gang is grouped together and she hits 3 people, she's going to keep taking turns and keep killing people, and it's an absolute nightmare. The main way to get around this is to try and corner her, because all of her moves require her to be at range. So if you can trap her in a corner, she can't take a move and it's game over for her. All you need is a high melee damage character or a decent melee ranged continuous damage dealer. Okay, let's look at our heroes. We've got Apollon and Medea, who are 2 main AoE range damage dealers. You can use anyone to replace these as long as they have the same attack profile as in the area on the ground they attack, and roughly the same speed as these heroes. If you aren't going to use Apollon, you can put Freya in the leader slot to utilise her leader speed skill. We all know Freya, I don't really need to explain her, but mine does have stun runes on, not particularly important though. Then we have Lakshmi, your clan shop hero, who after 5 or 6 weeks of buying her shards everyone can have. She is here for her A1, which has a knockback and will allow us to corner the boss. And then finally we have our melee range damage dealer, so that once the boss is cornered we have someone who can actually kill her. I use Vulcan because he has a fairly decent chance to apply dots, and he also does damage scaling with defense, which is very nice because Lakshmi also buffs defense, and she can also give him extra turns once we get that boss cornered. Okay, let's go to the walkthrough. Okay then, please take note of the starting positions, it's quite important, and the first thing we're going to do is start getting everyone back into the corner. This will draw the enemies close to us. I'm now going to use Lakshmi's A3 ability to give someone an extra turn, just so that I can get the attack buff up on Apollon, which will make killing these enemies a little bit easier. Going to start off by getting our dots down, which also helps that she has a stun. Then we're going to get our AoEs down and get these extra enemies killed. Nearly all done. Last hit off Vulcan, and then into position ready for the invincibility. Now this stage things always go pretty much to plan up until now. You can pretty much always guarantee that you're going to get to this point, but things can change a little bit from here on because Seer's targeting is a little bit RNG. You can't always know for sure who she's going to target. Medea here has taken some damage. It's highly likely that Seer is going to attack him next. So what we need to think about is where the boss will move to in order to attack him. So she will move 2 spaces to attack him 2 spaces away, so it's best to put him here, and that will give us a high chance to be able to corner her on her next go, because she's going to be near the edge. Now this could go wrong though. She could attack the pack rather than Medea, and if that does happen, keep going with it. I have still managed to do it in many different ways than is going to be shown here, but if it goes all to plan right now, this is the most reliable way to corner this boss. We're now going to move Apollon out of the way, so that if Seer kills Medea and gets another turn, she might then go for Apollon. And that's the only reason I've moved Apollon there. Now we've got the boss where we want her. We now need to think about actually setting the trap. So we're going to move Freya over to the edge, and she can just stay there. She is in range, so we might as well attack the boss. Then we're going to get Vulcan in to form the next wall of the cage, and he might as well put a dot down. Now Lakshmi, using her A1, can knock Seer into that cage. Go for it. And then all we have to do is shut the door. And there we go. Apollon has shut the door on the cage. The boss is now trapped. Gregory out there, don't worry too much about him. We'll soon take him down. But what we need to make sure we do is that we do not move out of position. Otherwise, Sia will get out. We want to also swap Apollon and Lakshmi's position as soon as we can. I'm going to start off by just popping Gregory away, and then looking at the turn meter, we should be able to get Apollon out and Lakshmi in, and then Lakshmi can buff Vulcan and make killing the boss just a little bit quicker. There we go, Lakshmi is now in place. Apollon will get killed, don't worry about it. All we need to do is use Lakshmi and Freya, use their ranged attacks to kill Gregory, and focus the boss with Vulcan, because we need to get those continuous damages down to kill it. So always just attack the boss with Vulcan. I might as well fast forward now to the end, because you've seen kind of what's going to go on here, and it's going to take quite a while. So let's do a fast forward. Okay, so we fast forwarded to nearly 7 minutes into this fight, and we're still going, still got plenty of turns left. The boss is on low health, and we've got loads of dots on there, so it's game over. Okay, let's have a look at our heroes. We've got Apollon to start with. High speed on Apollon because he scales with speed, and mine is built with crit in mind. These runes do still need to be upgraded. I've got quite low attack, but as I say, he scales with speed. And because of his A3, you don't need more than 70% crit rate, because he will buff crit. For Medea, we have, well, we would build her similar to Apollon. She doesn't actually scale off speed, but it's good to have speed to get those extra goes. If you're using her as a farmer, you've probably got her set up with lifesteal, but I'm not so sure on that. I don't use her that way. I use her because she has elemental advantage, and because her A2 has a good solid AoE on it. My Freya has stun runes on, but that is not particularly necessary for this guide. In fact, you may get away with not having Freya at all, but Sia does like to randomly target people at that break point, so having that invincibility will absolutely save you and maybe still clutch you a trap on the boss. Lakshmi, she is as fast as I could possibly get her. I've put speed on all substats, on all runes, and she's got a speed set and a speed rune. There's always room for improvement, but it's really important that she gets those hits down. It's always good for her to not get stunned and locked. And then finally we've got Vulcan, our melee champion. You could be using Esperanza if she's her damage might be high enough to do this, but I like continuous damage. He's only got a 55% chance to land it on his A1, but that is good enough for this fight. And as I say, because he is defense scaling, we can have resistance on here, so you can farm Aglos F10, and then I've just got defense on the other two, and he's got some self-sustain just because I use him for farming that rune dungeon. But with the defense scaling, it means that his attacks from his A1 actually do more damage when you have more defense, which synergizes well with Lakshmi's A2, which buffs defense. I hope this guide helped you. I'll try not to ramble on here, and I tried to make it as short as possible. As I say, Sia can be tricky because she changes her mind from try to try on who she's going to target. Best of luck to you. Keep at it. You will get her cornered eventually, and then we can move on. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you in game.